Welcome to the Artist Academy podcast, the audio version of our Facebook Live series, Art Talk Tuesday. I'm your host, Andrea Earhart, and I am so excited that you're here to catch the weekly replay of my laid-back yet very inspiring conversations with other full-time professional artists. The purpose of this series is to show aspiring artists like you that it is completely possible to make a great career out of this art thing. And if you ever want to join us live and have your questions answered in real time by myself or featured guests, then just hop over to facebook.com/groups/Artist Academy every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'll see you there. This episode is sponsored by the Artist Academy Advanced Membership, a program for artists who want to up-level their art game by taking it from a hobby or a side hustle to a full-time art business. I've been a professional artist for over 5 years with paintings in several different countries and a client list that includes high-profile companies such as Bass Pro, O'Reilly's, Duck Commander, and many, many more. So I figured out what it takes to build an art business, and now my heart is set on teaching aspiring artists like you to do the same. Go to advancedmember.com, that's advancedmember.com to learn more. Hey there! So I wanted to hop on really quick today and present you with an idea. An idea that I started to implement in my business, in the past year. I guess it's really just been super recent. I was actually presented this idea about a year ago. Yeah, so I think I heard about it and I took action. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so smart. I was talking to an artist and he said that his mentor told him something that was super useful, and that was to implement 3-tier pricing into his business. And I was like, okay, what's that? And he explained it to me, and he was telling me how it's basically you are offering 3-tier pricing. It's basically that. So you're offering the world a really high price ticket item. So this is what I like to call tier 1. So really high price. So imagine like a pyramid. So like a food pyramid. And we're going from top to bottom, okay? And so at the very top, you have this little bitty triangle up there, and just kind of like in your mind, your visual, insert a dollar sign, insert $3 signs into the top. And I like to put it at the top because there are only very few buyers that can fit into that top triangle. Very few buyers can fit into that space. Some can, though. There are buyers who can and will fit into that space. But this space is where you're offering a high ticket item. What a high ticket item is to you might be different than it is to me, but we're just going to say something for $1,000 or more. So something with 4 figures, okay? So $1,000. And in that, you're basically going to offer them originals. And yeah, basically originals. Something that you spent your hard-earned time on, and it deserves a high-ticket price. You know, it's on a big canvas, or you spent a lot of time on it, or it's a specialty skill that you've learned and you've implemented on this canvas. That is your high-tier, tier 1, high-priced area. Okay. So, since this is 3-tier pricing, you can bet the next tier is tier number 2. So, sticking on this food pyramid type thing, so the next level is just a bit bigger. You know, it's a bit wider. So, I'm just going to say that's tier 2, and it's the middle pricing. So a bit more buyers can fit into that area. So it's wider. A lot more people can fit in there as opposed to the top triangle where very few buyers can fit. So more people can come into this because your price point is kind of at a middle ground. I'd say middle class, upper middle class can afford this, even maybe some of the lower income class can maybe possibly fit into this too if they save, so it can catch a lot of people. It could maybe catch some of the lower budget people. Some of the higher ticket people might fall into that too. Depends on if they like it or not. But yeah, so that's tier 2. It's a middle price. And then what goes without saying, at tier 3 on our 3-tier pricing is the low price areas. So it is the bottom part of your food pyramid like triangle, and a lot of buyers can fit in there. There's a lot more space. It's super long, especially opposed to that little bitty triangle at the top, right? So a lot of buyers can fit into this. I actually say that basically everyone can fit into this. I like to think that. This is basically where you put your small prints. You could put things like stickers. You could put things like magnets or mugs or totes. And actually thinking back, I actually didn't explain what could go in tier 2 pricing, so your middle pricing. That's where you could put your prints, so like canvas prints, hand embellished prints, maybe some prints you spend a little bit more time on. I kind of think of that as the hundreds of dollars range. So a 3-digit price tag in there. So anywhere from like $100 to $900, like somewhere in there. Whereas tier 1 is like $1,000 or above. Tier 2 is $100 to like $999. And tier 3 is anything below $100. So just to kind of give you like an exact amount, it might differ for everyone. I'm not saying it has to be this for everyone. Some people, their top tier could be 5 figures. Some people could be paying $10,000 for a painting. You can do that. You just have to find the right buyer. And then their middle tier might be $1,000, and their bottom tier, like they won't sell anything below $100. That's their business model. I'm going to be relating it to mine, since that's what I've experienced with. And yeah, that's what I know about. Okay, so now that I've kind of explained what it is, I'm going to talk to you about why it's important. So now that you know what a 3-tier pricing is, I'm going to talk about why it's important and why I think you should implement this in your art business as well. And I highly encourage it. Since I've started doing it, I've seen the benefits of it. Everything that I was kind of scared would happen, it didn't happen. I know all the stories you make up in your head. And I really highly encourage it. So, Okay, offering only one tier is detrimental, I think. It's completely ignoring the buyers on the other tiers. So if you only have high-priced items, you're ignoring your buyers on a budget. So if you're super proud of your paintings, and there's nothing wrong with that, it's just my business brain is like, no, don't be too proud, because you're just missing so many people. So if you're offering only paintings for like $1,000 or like $900 or it's up there, $1,000, $5,000, whatever, you're completely ignoring the lower priced people. Because even though people with a smaller budget may look up to your art, they will probably never buy from you, like ever, because they just can't afford it. They have to pay rent, or they're buying a home, or they have children, and they just won't. So we're opposed to on the opposite side. Offering only small items means you're ignoring the people who want to spend money. So I'm thinking of the higher priced items, or your higher tier, as people who have really good jobs. They have planned their life out in such a way that makes it a bit easier. I think money makes things a bit easier, and so they can be a bit looser with their funds. Whereas the bottom tier, like just going from complete opposites, I think the bottom tier in my mind are people like single moms. not to like shout out anybody that's a single mom and struggling, but I grew up with a single mom, so that's where my mind goes, just to explain. And things were hard. Like my mom was extremely I mean, she was just so good with money. I think my mom made about 25,000 per year raising my brother and I, if that makes like, just to be super open with numbers. And even though, I didn't realize that we were, I don't want to say the word poor, but struggling. Like, I didn't feel like I was left out at all. Like, I didn't feel like I was lacking. I don't want to say that. I don't feel like I missed out on anything or anything like that, but it was hard. And, just watching my mom have to work so much and pay the bills and be super budget friendly on everything. It taught me how to be, really good with money now. But my mom would never ever pay $1,000 for a piece of art. She still won't. Like, I've sold my art for a couple thousand and she's just like, this blows my mind even today. And I'm like, I know. It's crazy. So yeah, just people on a budget, or the lower tier can be anybody who, has a great job but doesn't necessarily make a lot. So like teachers who are extremely underpaid, especially in the Midwest. Teachers have some of the most valuable jobs, and they just don't get paid a whole lot. But luckily they love their jobs, and they mold the young minds, and we need them. But yeah, teachers are one that probably won't pay thousands of dollars for art. So you're missing that level of people by not offering something that's more affordable. Okay. Same as in the middle area. So this is really, really interesting. This is something that was presented, this idea was presented to me, and this is something I had not thought about, and I was like, oh, because I didn't grow up with this kind of mindset. But it was, if you're only giving out, so like say you're only giving out the bottom tier and the middle tier. When someone comes to your website and they see things for $40, $100, $300, $500 even, and if that person is in the top tier, so tier 1 and the wealthier side, and they are an art lover, an art collector, and they are used to paying $1,000, $2,000, $10,000, whatever, for art to display in their home. If they are used to paying that, and they like paying that because paying a high dollar makes it more valuable in their mind. It's a whole psychology thing behind that I am so unfamiliar with. But being presented this recently, I was like, oh, that makes sense. So you're completely ignoring that buyer, and that buyer will probably not buy from you. Think of it like that. How crazy is that? And the psychology point of that, like, if you're offering things in like below $1,000 and someone is used to paying above $1,000 and they want to pay above $1,000, and because they want it to be worth it to them, and they want to proudly display it, in their several $1,000 home, that's just what they're used to. They will probably not buy from you because they don't see your art as super high quality. Crazy, right? So, this whole like psychology thing behind money is so fascinating to me. And so yeah, it's just the perceived value, I guess is the word of it. The perceived value. You putting a dollar amount on your art, you are also putting a perceived value on it. So, I'm going to give you some examples of actually exactly what I do. And just to give you some actual fine art or fine dollar amounts, an example of my 3-tier pricing in my current business, I have, so basically originals for me start at $500. I will go a little below that sometimes for like friends or something, but normally I'll tell people, no problem. Originals start at $500. You have no idea how many times I've said that in my emails and Instagram DMs, and that really weeds out a lot of people too. So it goes up from 500 to, I have things listed for 3,000 on my website. And part of that is that $3,000 mark is a little bit higher than I'm used to listing things for, but I'm putting it on there so I will catch that high ticket buyer, when they come to my website, they'll see that and they'll buy it if they like it, obviously. And then I have prints. So you can get paper prints or canvas prints. So you can get really big canvas prints from me from anywhere from like $350 to $400. The paper prints go down to even like $50 for a small one. So my middle tier is anywhere from $50 to $400. So not exactly the 3-digit, 4-digit, 2-digit plan, but that's just how mine works. And then my smallest amount is $7. So the least that you could buy from me and spend on something, a print, is $7. And I put it there because who could say no to $7, you know? And I've made this system up basically to where I can give away these $7 prints at a super low cost to me. And they, yeah, it's just, it is worth it because I set it up on a monthly plan. You can sign up for my $7 a month club. Basically, I'm catching those customers and friends who don't want to spend a ton on art, and I'm spreading their payments out really far. So when you sign up for a $7 print of the month club from me, I think of it as $7 for 1 year. So $7 for 12 months equals $84. Yeah, $84. And hardly any of those people who sign up for my $7 per month club would drop $84 on a print in a day. Very rarely. Some do, some for sure do, but there are a lot of people on my $7 a month club that wouldn't. And it's because they just don't have the funds. They're not super far in their career just yet. You know, they're like in their low 20s, early 20s, mid 20s, and they just don't have the funds for it yet. However, signing them up for $7 per month spreads out those payments, so it doesn't seem like very much. They look at it as $7 a month. That's what they see. I see $84 for the year. And yeah, and it's catching all of those people, and it's making it to where nobody can say they can't afford your art, which I get that all the time. People are like, I'm gonna buy your art when I buy a house, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, oh, cool, yeah. Well, I had this this $7 per month club. If you're ever interested in that, and they're like, oh, okay. Some will buy, and some will be like, oh, she just called me out, man. You know. But it makes it to where anybody can afford it, and that's my goal. And one of my things with this was I was really scared that offering $7 for prints, people would get a chance to buy my art, and then those people wouldn't buy bigger prints as well. And that myth was just debunked here recently when I did my birthday sale. And because a few people who bought the $7 prints, so they were getting my prints already, they had a piece of my art, they actually bought some bigger prints as well when I did a discount. So you're kind of catching the same kind of people, I guess, when you're doing a discount. People who really want a deal. Everybody wants a deal, you know, but everybody has their own set pricing in their mind, and you offering 3-tier pricing allows people to spend what they want. And that's something that I've had a little bit of trouble with dealing with, was just letting people spend what they want. Because personally, and this is terrible for me to say about, because I'm an artist, I came, since coming from, you know, living with a single mom, or being raised by a single mom, I cringe when I spend more than $100 on anything. Like, as most people do, you know, but there are people out there who will just drop $120 or, you know, like $200 or something on something and not really think anything of it. My fiance is one of them. He grew up in an upper middle class family, and so his money is an abundance thing to him. It's no big deal. He can just make more. That is not my money mindset. I'm working on it. Mine is money scarcity. And so anytime I could have, quite a bit in the bank, but if I'm going to spend $100 on anything, I'm like, no, I don't know about that. So I'm really just thinking of myself too when I'm making this $7 print of the month club. So yeah, I'm one of those people, one of those bottom tier people who won't spend money on art, and it's terrible to say, but several of my students have offered the bottom tier level with stickers or magnets, and I buy it as soon as I see it. I actually have not told them this, but if I see one of my students, so those students in the Artist Academy Advanced membership, if I see any of my students offer anything at $20 or below, I will buy it. If I like it, of course. I'm not just going to buy it if I don't like it. But if I like it and it's affordable in that area, since they're a student of mine, I love to give back to my students, and I will buy it. I never actually told them this, but I'm sure several of them have. Honestly, I don't know if they'll catch on, because I don't know that they know how many people I've bought from. Like, for example, I've bought magnets from Amy Joy. She's one of my students. She had beautiful bird magnets, and I think they were like 3 for $9, and I ended up opting for buying like 9 of them for like $26 or something like that. I don't know. I loved it. I'm so excited, and I'm giving some to my dad for Christmas because he's big on bird watching. Okay, so I actually just did that, I think maybe 2 days ago, so it's funny I'm recording this right now. I do this all the time. So I'm part of Meg Wagler's subscription box club every month. She has a subscription box, and it comes with prints and stuff, and it's very affordable, and I pay that every month for her because she's in my Artist Academy, and so she's investing in me, and she's a friend, so it's a good way for me to give back to her. One of my I guess one of my goals, or something I really strive for in the Artist Academy Advanced, is for people to make back what they invest in it. And if I can do that a little bit with buying a little bit of their art, if it's under $20, I am so happy to do that. I teach them, sales methods and all the things that they will for sure earn their money back in other ways, not just me buying their stuff. But this is also just stems from that want for them to make their money back. And also, I bought one of Christine's. So Christine Reitzel, she was on the podcast very recently, and I bought one of her stickers. She has super awesome, vibrantly colored stickers, and she posted about it, and I was like, yep, ship one to me. Yep. And so I paid her like $7 for a sticker. I'm like, yep, thank you. I even bought, so Lissa, she has been one of my students since the very beginning. I remember when I first started the Artist Academy Advanced, I was like, who wants to join? And Lissa was one of the first people that raised her hand. So she has been in my Artist Academy since it started, so since the beginning of the year, which is almost a year now. And she's just a star student. And she just recently completed a painting of a wave that just blew my mind. Like, this girl, it's so good. And she put up a post about she's taking pre-orders for prints. These are paper prints, and they were about $60. And I was like, you know what? I have to have this. I loved that painting so much, and she's been with me from the beginning, and so to me that was just a no-brainer. I want a piece of her art in my home because I know she's going big places, and she's a student of mine, and I love everything about it. So that's just another example. So that was $60. It's a bit more than I'll usually spend because I'm so cheap, but I wanted it so bad, and it's still on that bottom tier level of under $100, and so it got me. And yeah, the list goes on. I bought several things from a podcast guests like Elise with A Million Tiny Lines. She's one of the very first podcast guests I had. I bought one of her totes with elephants on it, and I use it when I go in the airport sometimes. And Tram Colwyn, I bought one of her mini butterfly paintings. I think that one was actually an original because I loved it so much. Again, I think it was like $75. Again, I rarely go up that high, but if I love it so much, I'm going to buy it. If it's under $100, I'm going to buy it. So let that, just me talking about that, as cheap as I am, I love art too. And so if I can support an artist that I love with under $100, I'm going to do it. And so to me, in my mind, I think there are so many people out there who also have that mentality. And they'll do that as well. Actually, when I was making my $7 a month print club, I had one person in mind. She was the person, and I didn't message her, and her name is Katie, and I went to school with her, and she works for a nonprofit, and she stays home with her kids a lot of the time. And so, I mean, she works for a nonprofit. She doesn't have a whole lot of money to throw around, but she always comments on my stuff, and she's like, I love this, I'm so proud of you, all that. And so when I made this $7 a month print club, I had her in mind. I was like, I know that she is the perfect person to buy this. And I didn't message her at all, but as soon as I put the post out, she bought it. And I knew she would. I was hoping she would, you know. It was just a bit of a validation when she did, and I was so excited. Because she doesn't have a ton of money, you know, especially art. Art is a luxury, I kind of say. Like, we don't need it. Some artists would strongly disagree, but art is a luxury. We need food, water, shelter. We are lucky to put art in our home, you know? And so having that bottom tier level, it just allows for literally anyone to buy your art. So this also segues into next week's solo episode, all about residual income. I'm a huge fan of that term and the possibilities that can come from it, and that's why I wanted to devote a whole episode over the residual income method. So this $7 print of the month club is a great example of that. Residual income is basically you're not trading your time for dollars, and I think this $7 print month club is the perfect example of that. So yeah, just to kind of recap over really quick, and then I will let you off of here to continue painting, which I'm sure that's what you're doing right now. 3-tier pricing. It's basically just offering something super high and catching your people who want to spend a lot of money on your art and don't mind, and who have the budget to do so, and when they want to proudly display that in their home and maybe even brag about how much it costs. You never know. People are very strange like that. The psychology and the stuff that goes through people's heads, I don't always understand it, but I'm trying to. And then the middle tier, usually prints, where your high tier is originals. Sometimes your middle tier is prints, or it could be originals that you whip up really quickly, or canvas prints, stuff like that. And low tier is something that everyone can afford. That way you literally, if someone's like, oh, I want to support your art, be like, oh, here you can. Look at that. You know? Okay, that's it. I hope that you think about ways to implement this into your art business. I mean, you could do things with the bottom tier. You could things like mugs, totes, I mean, stickers, like we mentioned, small prints, do the print of the month club. I'll tell you all about that on the next episode. I'm actually even going to make a video that shows you how I just put together the whole $7 print of the month club, how I stamp it, how I do everything, and how I get the cost down to $1 per print, which is crazy. So yeah, that's all on the next episode. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day. I'll see you next week. This episode is sponsored by the Artist Academy Advanced Membership, a program for artists who want to up-level their art game by taking it from a hobby or a side hustle to a full-time art business. I've been a professional artist for over 5 years, with paintings in several different countries and a client list that includes high-profile companies such as Bass Pro, O'Reilly's, Duck Commander, and many, many more. So I figured out what it takes to build an art business, and now my heart is set on teaching aspiring artists like you to do the same. Go to advancedmember.com, that's advancedmember.com to learn more. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. Also, if you ever want to join us live and have your questions answered in real time by myself or featured guests, then just hop on over to facebook.com/groups/Artist Academy every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. And I'll see you next week.